Coaches, are you ready to revolutionize your game preparation? Coaches across the nation have been using the ultimate scout team game changer, the Coachpad. Imagine this: no more scrambling on weekends to prep scout cards, no more fumbling with paper and binders. Whether you're drawing your cards digitally with a computer program or sketching them by hand, the Coachpad is your all in one solution. Picture yourself on the practice field effortlessly managing your scout team or standing on the sidelines during game day, syncing adjustments from the press box to your coaches on the sideline and back. With the coach pad, you can clearly see your scout cards even in the brightest sunlight. No more squinting or dealing with the wind blowing clear vinyl sleeves everywhere. This offseason, take your coaching to the next level. Get your coach pad today at thecoachpad.com and gear up for a winning season ahead.
Welcome back to another episode of the Gap Bound Down Backer podcast. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that lovely jazz so people can find this podcast and all the other ones. And make sure you check out our sponsor, Coachpad. Again, they've supported us, I think, for 4 of the 5 years the podcast has gone on. Today we have a fantastic guest who I just got done listening to at Wings and Things the other day, and I've listened to about 14 or how many ever other content related stuff he's put out there between interviews and podcasts and clinics. Um, Coach Alan Haire, he is the head coach at Jarrell High School there in the great state of Texas, just outside of Austin. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing good, sir. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, again, I just got, again, coach is an avid slot tier. Like I said, again, one of our favorite type of guests on here. Coach, for maybe people who have not, or let me rephrase that, people who are not in Texas and who maybe, or don't follow the slot T heavily, how do you end up at your current school?
Well, I was in my hometown of Salado for six. I had my youngest son graduated, and I was getting to the retirement. I hit my retirement number. Your age and years of service, get to a certain point. You need to increase your average. And so, Clean ISD, which is about 14 miles from here, opened up a brand new high school, 5A high school, and threw my name in the hat, and they were silly enough to hire me. So I left Salado, went over there a couple of years, and opened it from scratch, straight varsity, straight 12 seniors. You open up a brand new high school with limited juniors and seniors, and great experience, great opportunity to get my average up from where I was. But my middle son graduated from Texas A&M. He wanted to be a coach. They have a nepotism policy in Killeen ISD, and so Jarrell is right really south of Salado, about 7, 8 miles. It's kind of a district foe, as you will. And so they opened up, and again, I was able to fool the committee to hire me, and so wound up at Jarrell and just finishing my second year there. My son's been on staff. He also, was a quarterback in the system, so he understands the nuances of it. And so we've also hired his center. So his my center quarterback combo in 2016 and 17 are with me now, and that helps too to understand how the dynamics of the offense work. So in a nutshell, been in it 34 years, over 20 as a AD head football, and went to the slot T in 2005, six, after having a unsuccessful season, and I didn't have a quarterback. Went through about 4 or 5 in one season. I never was going to trap myself into a system that depended on the quarterback, and so that's where I gravitated toward a slot T.
Well, before I get to kind of why the slot T and get that a little more detail, like how's that been for you to be able to hire former players at this point to come in? Because has that made, especially when you take over a new program, has that made that install easier, do you think? Bringing in former players because they know how you like doing things and know how you want stuff done, compared to maybe hiring somebody with slot T experience coaching or just somebody who doesn't have any experience. How's that process been?
Yeah, I think you need to hire somebody that's acclimated to it. I mean, right now, our strong side, who is my son, quick side is my former center. The swingman coach is a former swingman of ours. He was they were 17, so he was 19 as far as graduation. And so I guess I only have one guy on the offensive staff that wasn't with me previously, whether they played in it or in the system. I've been very fortunate to hire former players or former people that's coached across from it, so they kind of understand it as they get into it. And so, just the verbiage and terminology and understanding how the holes and splits and all that stuff works, yeah, they need to have a little bit of background in it for sure.
Okay. And I know in a couple other spots you've talked kind of why, and you kind of mentioned it there. Kind of the personnel was a big dictating a bad season. But like when you went through that process, who were the guys that kind of guided you into this and helped you develop where you're at in the slot T now?
Yeah,
Like who were your focal points?
yeah. So, I'm one of the very few that's never been in the system that said I'm all in because when you get your rear beat, you if you want to be successful, you go chase successful people and find out everything you can to be better. And so, 2002, I got my first head job at Perrin Witt, which is North Texas, outside of Weatherford, Texas, and I was an OC in the spread system, mirrored routes, concept routes, high-low routes, um, not number and tree stuff. And boy, I was really into it, but yeah, I learning everything you can about it. But uh, Lago Vista was my second job, and I was there 3 or 4 years. We got competitive, but in 05, '06, we went 1-9, and we had scrimmage at Liberty Hill where Coach Jerry Vance was the head coach, Jeff Walker was the OC, and I would look across during those scrimmages and go, golly, it's tough stuff. That's tough to stop. And they just won the state championship in '06 and '07. And so, with that being said, it was only about 15 minutes from there. I would drive over and watch athletics. I would drive over and take Jeff to Chili's to eat. We would draw plays on napkins that I still have. Um, Jeff actually, suffered from cancer and passed away in 2020. His brother's still alive. He's the head coach at Blanco. Um, and so Paul Kilby's his offensive coordinator. John Hall was with him in Liberty Hill as well. So really, right now, you know, I got Coach Bruce Bush, who's the kingpin, if you would. I mean, he's high up on the totem pole of slot T, and if not the very top. So he come and spent a Saturday with us, about 10 hours worth of. I remember it was raining that day. It was a little bit, uh, just dreary outside, and I'm sitting in there thinking, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know that if I mean, he threw it all at us, and I was like, the holes flip with your strength and did all this stuff. And and I thought, man, maybe this is for more analytical people. And he said, he just said, no, you digest it, you work on it, you work on it in the spring, and you keep learning, and your kids will gravitate towards it. So to answer your question, Bruce Bush, Jeff Walker, Paul Kilby, John Hall, Robert Draper was with those guys over there. Les Gold was with Bruce Bush in San Marcos, who become a head coach at different schools. Bruce Bush will still answer to this day, and I see him sometimes. When you call me, you must not think I know anymore to help you. But those guys are the ones that will, anytime you call, will call you back, and if you've got a problem with something going on schematically, they'll help you. But that would be my 4 or 5 guys that my go-tos for background.
I've had Coach Bush on, and I never want to just bother him. And I feel like I'm bothering him anytime I send him something. That's kind of that's me because I just again you guys know him a lot better than I do. My interactions are a little different, and I just feel like I'm bothering him when I if I send him anything. So I try not to do that. But like I mean, I do. I'm curious because you've ran it. Was this 20 years now? Well, that
Hmm.
if you saw it in '05, yeah. How is your I mean, we talked a little bit about this off camera. Like, how's your install schedule for the slot T changed or evolved? Because I hear a lot of you, and this is the same thing I've been told as I've looked into it and ran it. Like, start with the 300 series, then move on to the 200. Um, but for you, how has it evolved over the years? Has there stuff you've taken out, added? I mean, how's that process work for you throughout each year that you go through this?
Yeah. Um, Very little additions. Very just we want to get faster and better at how we do it. I did start with the 200 when I first started, so that's what I understood. But now I would start with the 300s. Um, there's no need to add. If you add, what are you taking away? And so now you can make an adjustment. But if we're in 200s, we're going to get really good at A right. Like my seventh grade, I don't care if they get in left set. Matter of fact, stay in right. Um, if you don't like the time motion, then get in I and have them leave when the ball snapped because the tailback's directly behind the fullback. But I, eighth grade, I don't mind them going right and left, but I've kind of scripted what I want them to run because down there, they want to run. Sometimes they want to run too much, and the kids get confused,
Yep.
and then they get to us and like, what? Why are you lined up there? It's impossible, like that's who ran last year. Oh God, that's not right. But anyway. Um, when you're installing those families, we're going to start with 3-3-3-3-4-9-8 hole, and that's all we're going to work. And generally, I'll send the strong in and strong tackle off with the strong side coach, this quick tackle and the swing man and tailback off with the quick side. And I'll just keep the centers and guards and fullback and halfback. And we'll just over and over. And so we'll get all those other people out of the way. And we're always going horizontal across the field because the lines across the field, 20-yard line, 10-yard, they're built for us to stay on the line for that fullback. And so we get really good on your path. You don't want to work it up and down the field because they don't know whether to, stay straight or bend it or, those types of things. Well, I can say be on the line every time, whether there's a no shade nose or not. But we're going to spend a lot of time on one day of 3-3-3-3-4-9-8 hole over and over and over and over and over. And then the next day we would come back with 3-32-3-2-8. And then I'd have my tailback go with me if it's a Tom situation where he's working on timing. But we're going to do part to whole on that. And, I'm getting ahead of myself because really, we're going to work snap schools. We're going to work how to get a snap. We're going to work ball exchanges. We're going to work taking a handoff. Before you ever our back, sometimes we do a thing called tuck pin cover where I'm gonna teach you how to hold the football. You know, I got to teach you how to exchange it. I got to teach a quarterback how to seed it, and when he presses that handoff in there, you know, his God hand is the top hand. God doesn't need a guide, so the guide hand is underneath. It leaves first, and that top hand really presses and then releases down the tip of the ball as that running back goes through. Because we talk about getting it in there deep, and so you can't just run plays without understanding like I want my center to have two fingers on the seam so he has some type of friction to slam that thing back there. And as we go under and we interlock those thumbs with that the snap hands, as far as receiving the snap, we're going to be under and we're going to quarter turn because that you can hear a good snap just like you can hear a good kick. And so it ought to be off, it ought to be every time. And if it's not, it's kind of delayed. And it's funny when a center's trying to scoop or block back, he's got to learn to put the ball in the same spot. When you step left, the ball will go right. You step right, the ball will go left. It's got to be in the same spot every time. And I know I might be boring you with some details there, but that's kind of,
Oh no,
you know,
this is not boring me
we're,
at all. Like I'm
we're,
gonna this is the level of detail I love listening to. Like because like again, this is the second time I've heard you say snap school. Like because I think you mentioned it briefly. I think yesterday when you were talking your belly power G series, the 200s and 400s essentially for our listeners. Um, and you mentioned Snap School yesterday, and that's one of the questions I was going to ask you about. Like, what does Snap School entail? Because again, if you're trying to, I said this to you off camera, is like if you're trying to install something, you can put the rules on the board all you want. That's great. That's awesome. Beautiful. But if you don't know the technique, it doesn't matter. You're not going to be successful. I don't care what system you're running. I don't care if you're in the gun, under center. It doesn't matter. But again, when and then you get into really good coaching and you're getting into minute little details like snap school. I've never heard like again, I kind of figure what it is, but like for those listening, because this might benefit even spread coaches, like to be honest, what does snap school all entail? What is that what I mean, you mentioned some of it right there, but like what does that entail for your quarterbacks and centers and who else is involved? What is snap school?
okay, great question. So, my centers and quarterbacks, if they're going to play that position, they got to be leaders. So, say we have a 7 a.m. practice, they better be on the field getting half snaps at 6:55. And that what I'm going to explain here on a half snap is the center is going to look where he's snapping it. He's going to hold the ball halfway up and he's going to step and snap. Don't ever snap it or practice a snap without stepping. That drives me nuts. Because in the ball game, you better win it. You better step first. And so with winning it, when your hand flinches, so should your foot. But I call it a 3-inch jab step and a gather gather. We don't want to lunge. You don't want to step too. I call it a 3-inch jab because if you step farther than that, you're going to lose leverage. But anyway, they get their half snaps. Well, then I come out and blow the whistle and we start the segment timer. And yeah, I'm a weirdo. I'm a segment timer, not just a time guy. Um, Everybody's got their groups, their warm-up groups, their ICB&T groups. And so, but the centers and quarterbacks come with me the first 5 minutes of ICB&T of the warm-up. And so I'll have freshmen through seniors on the goal line coming out with the quarterbacks behind them. If we don't have enough quarterbacks, they'll have a ball and they'll step through it. But um, they'll already have their halves when I got that practice starts. And we do the same order every day. And so we're going to be first, they know. And this say it's a Monday and we're playing an even front loss. I'll get into it, guys. Today, you're not going to have anybody over you. Now you're going to have to block back. Now there's going to be a one. He's a plugger now. He can really attack you. If you go away, he's going to try to cross your face. There's different things. But so I'll start giving them the game plan there. But first thing we do is all of them, 6 or 8 of them, A-Rat 3-3 on quick. And my starting quarterback, he's the one that calls it. I put him in the middle so they can hear both ways. And and so then therefore there goes the snap on quick. So I want to make sure that all centers are stepping back. And then the next one's 349. We're going with 349 on quick. Well, they know, the rules for centers go with every sweep except on 8-hole block back or goal line. You block back. And so 349, I should see a scoop. I should see a 3-inch vertical. Gather, square your hips. Make sure you don't lose the line of, the line of scrimmage. You can't penetrate. And so now they're working a scoop. And so the next one is a 400 series play because it's on one. Some weeks I mix it up, 434 or 328 because it's all on one. And so it's an on one play. And then it's on two. So right set, we go 333, 349, 434G, 234. Okay, now left set. And now when I say left set, I'll tell him, okay, we're going to no shade strong. So he's going to shade to the strong side, and that's going to be offset. And we'll use those same theories. So 333, 349, 434G, 234. And then we come back right. And I'll give them a totally different front, imaginary front. Now, if I have enough, or if I know we're facing a really, really good nose guard, I'll get somebody with a shield and we'll stand and we'll knock the Padui out of him during snap school to get his mentality right of, hey, you're fixing to get it this week. And so really, we're getting 9 game reps snaps, really 12. We go for the right, for the left, for the right. And then once we're done with that, centers go to their stretch group because after that, they've done their warm-ups and now they're getting into their shot and following all the things that we do. And the quarterback stays with me. Um, we'll work on pitch on Monday. We'll get caddy corner. We'll work 228 pitch. We'll work our tosses. And then on Tuesdays, we'll start getting loose. We'll do some mechanically, ball throwing type stuff. Quarterbacks think they're really getting, some work there. So, we'll do the left knee, right knee. We'll do the jog and throw. We'll do the pocket trigger throw. We'll do things in which their mechanics need to take place. So that's the second half of snap school. So really, to answer your question, we're gonna get out and get half snaps before the clock goes off. And then once the clock goes off, we're going to get 4 to the right, 4 to the left, 4 to the right, and then send the centers back because they still need work within their physical part of their game. And then we're going to do our stuff as far as pitch and pass. So that's the school now. If we're having problem with exchanges, and then we're going to have to get technical. I'm going to have to video it. I got to get somebody behind them. I got to start looking under. So, are you turning? Where are you seeding it? Where are you trying to put it? And so you can really see when you break it down if those centers are moving their foot when they move their hand because it shouldn't be hand and then foot, and they're late. And so you just really can coach them and accelerate them at that point in time. That's individual for them. Sorry for a long answer there.
Oh, no, that's a perfect answer, Coach. You don't got to apologize for that. That's again level of detail I love. Like I'm just like I feel like I know nothing. That's what that's what that made me feel like. And again,
Um,
as somebody who again ran a bad version of it this year that we're going to work on getting really good at. Like, I mean, that's again, these are details that I need, and I think anybody else because I know people reach out to you and Liberty Hill and a couple others every year about Okay, how do you install and all you do all that, and then a fraction of those actually make it down there to talk to you or actually follow through. But like this is level default people like me who love this offense, want to know because again, these are all things I need to write down. I need to learn. So again, as we progress through this, that we get better at it. And that's, I mean, I could ask you 18 billion questions all day long. So, like again, continue like and I don't even care if this just turns into a center quarterback exchange podcast. I could really like that's where I'm at right now with this. Like, because I heard you mention it yesterday, and I hadn't made a decision what I was going to ask you on or off screen, and I don't really think it matters. Can you talk a little bit more about your quarterback hand placement from under center? Like, because again, I'm really enjoying the level of detail, and again, because again, and I think you guys are for the most part, similar to most other albums, but I think there's a couple things on how you word it are probably different from what I was understanding yesterday, listening to your clinic, and then some of the other stuff I've listened to you speak on. Like, how are you teaching? Because again, you hit the center part. How are you teaching the quarterback from a hand placement point, from under center, especially with a center who's in a 4 point stance um, and in the offense that you're doing? Because I know you talked a little about pushing off yesterday and some other things.
Okay. First off, when we interlock and we're straight, well, once you're under, you're going to turn it to three quarters and you're going to put your middle knuckle. You're going to put your middle knuckle in his brown hole. And I don't mean to be silly. Like yesterday, I said in the middle of the butt cheek. That's the landmark. That's where you should be. And so as you're under and you three-quarter turn, now we're set. Now your toes need to be inside the heels of the center. So when you're in alignment behind them, your feet shouldn't be wider than his. Your toes are inside. So if I'm in right sit, his left toe will be inside of the center's left heel, and I'm gonna toe to instep my right foot, which is staggered strong, but by alignment from behind, I'm gonna see that his right toe is inside the center's right toe, but we're staggered. Why? Because we're gonna open strong. Um, and just to help you with that, for instance, if we get to 3-3-3, I teach our quarterbacks trap side foot kicks first. Well, if I'm staggered strong and I kick with my trap side foot, which would be my left, now it gives your guards room. If you're even and you don't know which foot to step with and you don't get away from the quarterback with some distance, then he's going to bump your elbow. And that's when we press away. So for instance, if it's on one, I'm going to say ready, hit. So on the the center better be getting that young ball out. And on the it ought to be there.
Yep.
Not on it. So if it's ready, hit. So I'm anticipating the it ought to be in his hand on it. So when I have my hands are so ready, hit. So I'm going to kick and press. So let's just say it's 234. Um, and I know I'm going to kick strong. So I'm going to press and kick. So in snap school, you look at all of them in unison. Ready, hit, hit. My hands go forward, so does my foot kick. I got to drag that ball out of his brown hole anyway and go get it and bring it to the mesh point. So, but I'm gonna kick my right foot and press with my hands, and I'm gonna drag it over. I don't wait. Sometimes I'm pressing him, and if he's a little bit late, you can see his butt go up a little bit because it's all timing. And so it's the same thing on quick. So after that sound and need be too is if he's scooping strong on he ought to be stepping as he's getting that, but a 3 inch now, not more six, but just a jab up and then gather, and then he's either scooping, squaring, whatever, whatever the concept of the play is. But we can't run these plays if I don't teach them how to get a snap.
Yep.
And there ain't nothing worse than dropping the snap. And some centers can't do it. Um, my, so I've always had the privilege of taking over programs that were not very good. And so same thing in Lago Vista, same thing in Salado, same thing at Clean Chaparral. And Clean Chaparral, we were 4-6. We missed the playoff by one game, but that really hurts my feelings there. We didn't get the new program in. And then in Jarrell, hadn't had a winning season 8 seasons as far as win-loss record. When I first went to Salado, our first game right out of the box, we mishandled 7 exchanges. I think we lost like 15-9 or something. It's terrible, just terrible. Well, my center's crying on the sideline, and like, holy smokes, dude, get the. And we had been over all, but I found out mentally he couldn't handle it. Okay, because now they're moving fronts. They knew we were new into the system. Um, they're giving us one front and the next one, and so then therefore he's getting confused. And when he's thinking, he's slow snapping it. And so when he's slow getting up there, you press and kicking the ball ain't there, it don't hit right. So that's why we get as many snaps as we can before practice, before we get into the practice to get us warmed up. Just like any warm up of any type of sport, you got to kind of, you know, muscle memory that thing before you get going.
No, perfect, coach. Like I said, again, those are again details that I think sometimes are overlooked. Like when people, again, I think when people go to install an offense, maybe one they didn't play in. I'll use that as an example. Those aren't the questions that are necessarily asked or maybe always relayed. And I think stuff like that, again, those little details is where people get really good at things. And you go from being okay, good above average team to okay, potentially a great team with a chance to make a run or go several rounds deep into a playoffs instead of not making it or losing in the first round because your kids, the level of detail with your kids are executing at such a high level. Um, my other thing is like because again you've started it from scratch and you've taken over programs. The 4 point stance is that is my life mission right now is learn as much as humanly possible about it as I can. Um, like where do you guys start? Like in as a program with the 4 point stance and how you teach it and because that's my world right now. So that's I just add any details you want to give me on the 4 point stance, any little tidbits, I will take them. And I think anybody that kind of again because if there's an outsider looking in, you like the confusion immediately by anybody who doesn't know what the slot T is, and you see an offensive lineman in a 4 point stance. It's like a foreign country to somebody. They have no idea what's going on because again, you turn on Saturday and Sunday, and what do you got? 3 point stances and 2 point stances. And so kind of from a stance point, where are you guys at and how's that look?
Yeah, it's a great question. Um, if you do things everybody else is doing, then you become everybody else. We're not going to be everybody else. Um, I sell that to our guys. Guys, y'all hadn't had a winning season around here at all these places. And y'all been doing what? Oh, we've been doing this. Okay. Well, how about just give me a chance? You know, let's see what we can do with it. And therefore you build that momentum into that. But I tell them up front, this stance is not going to give you an advantage. This stance is going to give you an attitude. There's no scientific research that 3 or 4 is going to help you be a better football player. But what will give you better football is your dadgum attitude, knowing that when I'm going to stab my fingernails in the dirt and I'm coming at you at mid level. That's when you know that he's going to have to do that over and over and over. As far as into that defensive front, let's see your attitude now. And so um, you got to practice it. Again, feet under your armpits. You got to get used to stabbing those hands in the ground, and we do 60-40. I know you've heard the more cleats in the ground, the better. You don't want to be on your toes because there's too much weight forward. Your fingers shouldn't turn white. You don't want your fingers in a track stance either. I see some kids, turn them. So they're just kind of it's inside of your arch too. If you're looking at them far behind, your butt's above your head. You look out your eyebrows. I don't even care if they don't need to look up. Just see if you see toes in front of you because we're taking a path. You're going in that direction. He might just be in your direction. Knock that crud out of his hip when you get there. Um, but with that being said, it's a balance. If we got kids struggling with their stance, then during that warm up time, you get a chance to have 4 different lines. You look at them, look at them, look at them, look at them, and we do it over and over and over. And we'll do it in the spring, and um, just like when we rotate in the weight room. Um, early on this past week when we got out of football, we got in there. If everybody don't clap, then we're going to get down and push the floor with our push-ups and make them realize how important it is to clap coming out of the huddle. And when in the weight room, they'll all look at me and go, God, you better clap. But that's the attitude. And so we clap, we take 3 steps, we get down, strong side goes first, no matter if it's right or left set. You should get comfortable knowing how far you are away from the center. You didn't have to look. We talked to them about don't show your numbers. It's like you're sneaking up there, boom, boom, get out. If you see your numbers that way, if we want to flip a tackle, or if we want to flip an in, or if we leave somebody uncovered, they don't see what number you are. But in the spring now, and when we go outside here, some of our speed and strength development, there'll be days where we work on coming out stance and starts, right foot lead, left foot lead, um, and just get them comfortable in that. Um, and then coach the stance. Um, you know, my main thing is your heels should be up just a little bit, but your butt's got to be even with your head or above. I don't want you looking at all. I just want just to barely visually see like you're looking under the door and under the closet or whatever, like who's in there? Well, that's what the landmark you're kind of seeing, but um, and then getting out of that mother like you're on fire. And it's an attitude. It's not, and I tell them that it's not going to make you a statistically better player because you got in a 4 or 3. What it's going to do though is we're not everybody else, and here we come. I want them to know here we come. We're getting out of the huddle and we're freaking coming. And we may miss a block. We're glancing blows. We're just getting somebody's way faster, faster, faster. It's never fast enough. Um, you got to coach hard every day out of the coaching office with your whistle in your hand, and there ain't no easy days in what we do. It's not easy, and we usually don't have the big 320, 350 pounders either, because we're doing so much that those guys usually take care of themselves and we can't use them anyway because they're slow. And so we trim them up, try to get faster. If they can keep their weight as we burn these calories, that's fine. But I'd rather have 220 than 280 any day that don't move. I know I kind of got off there, but the 4 point is is just learning to get your hands down in unison, learn to get comfortable in it, and then just believe in your ability to go fast. And you remind them all the time how fast they're looking. You're getting faster and faster and faster out of that thing.
Perfect, Coach. One thing I do want to ask, because I know you've talked about leadership before in podcasts and clinics, and it's gotten rave reviews. And um, one of the big things for me as a head coach is culture in general, and I think that's an important thing. Like, again, we can talk offense, defense, special teams all day long. Culture is also the other big part of that whole aspect: culture, leadership, and all those things. How do you? One of the last questions I want to ask you before we get to our list of questions is how do you set culture, or how do you establish culture at each place you get to? Because again, that's uh, it's I think that's a very, again, people focus on the offense, the defense that a head coach is bringing in. Um, but how are you getting? What is your offseason process of your culture look like?
Yeah, number one, you show them your vulnerability, you show them who you are. Uh, um, you tell them your experience level. I've always been an underdog. Um, I've always been the team that's finding their way in the door, not already in the door. And you ask them a little bit about, you know, how do they want their high school experience to be remembered? And the only way to really remember something is to be good. And in order to be good, have you challenged yourself to be successful? And so just be open and real and tell them to give you a chance to work with them. I'm privileged to be their coach. I'm gonna do everything I can to provide them the best high school experience possible. But once you agree to be coached now, I'm gonna coach you hard. Is that okay? Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, I mean, it's not for everybody, but generally, the consensus is they want to be good. Kids want to be good. Kids want to have discipline. Kids want to have high expectations. And so I think over time, what we've done, and we'll start that January 6th when we get back, we have a 7 week character curriculum when we go over some attitudinal traits. But I put 2 coaches in every room, and so I let I'll pick spring captains, but captains in the fall they have to write a letter of application and I interview them. There's a list of questions that I ask them, and then, um, you know, I will decide on captains because if a coach ever says we lack leadership, then he lacks the ability to create leaders. Don't ever say we lack leadership. Well, then build it. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear we're rebuilding this year. Nobody wants to hear that baloney either. Uh, we're gonna have an opportunity to work with some young guys this year. And with that being said, that means they're inexperienced, but they were not rebuilding. That poor parent that got to go through a rebuild, well, that's unfortunate for them. And I don't want to think any parent has to go through a rebuild with us, um, but our coaches for 6 weeks will stand in front of them and go through these leadership. The first one's attitude. Okay, what is attitude? Hey, give me an example of a good attitude. Give me an example of a bad attitude. What do you feel you are on your attitude? How do you approach the day when your eyes are open? Before your feet hit the ground, it's an opportunity. I mean, they'll share and then they go responsibility. If it's going to be up to me and all that. It don't matter, short, brown, skinny, tall. Uh, you're in control. You're in control of taking responsibility. You're in control of that attitude. But our coaches now, and that's infused amongst all these kids. And so at the end of character curriculum, we kind of come up with a character, camp to use what we learned in the classroom to overcome the adversity and the speed weights and jump ropes and mat drills and all the things that are hard. But you got to be real and got to be in front of them. I think every day, I'm trying to remember this past Friday when I went in there, good morning. They better say good morning back to me pretty loud. And then we get going. What are you thankful for? Coach, I'm just thankful to be here. Well, good. Well, I don't know. We got to find something. I'll come back to you. But our topic Friday was about, if I told you for $30 million, you could make great decisions, could you? Oh yeah, coach. Well, what about the guy at University of Michigan? You know, what happened to him? It's just decisions and your habits become who you are. And so be real with them, uh, talk real with them, be upfront with them. But sometimes it's also telling them the truth. Um, and so uh, I think some coaches have a gift with being able to do this. Other coaches have to work on it. Um, but it's just their personality. And I think your relationships equals culture. Do you have relationships with them? And then therefore that relationship will equal your culture of what you need from them.
Perfect, Coach. All right, last little segment we do. As I told Coach, and I think if you've watched any of our other things this season, um, that I have a list of questions that I stole from a couple people. Um, and as I told Coach, that he doesn't need long-winded answers or anything. And he can get as short or as long as he wants with them. So we'll kind of see how this goes for you, Coach. I also have a lot of common answers amongst football coaches I've discovered so far. I'm not gonna say which ones because it might give it away. But I just like first thing you think of or hear. Um, so
Okay.
Coach, my first question is, what is your favorite word?
Mhm. Mhm. Hard to use just one word when you're coaching or just
In general, in life.
opportunity.
What is your least favorite word?
Give me a second.
You're a good coach.
Oh man. I know I have some good stuff that I don't like to hear, but none of them are snapping uh, to me right now. So my least favorite word um, would be excuse.
It's a good one. I think the most common one I've gotten so far is usually probably can't is probably, but again, the similarities of football coaches. What is your favorite sound or noise?
Out of the weight room.
What is your least favorite sound or noise?
Girl noises that boys make.
I completely understand you. What profession other than yours, if you had to attempt one, would you like to attempt?
Ah, hmm. Can I give you two?
Yeah, you can give me two.
Coming out of high school, I was going to be a garbage collector or a butcher because my family would build homes for a living, and we were always out on the heat on a slab. And I thought, holy smokes, I'm not doing this for the rest of my life. My brother does a fine job with it. It's hot. And I thought, man, if I could work in a daggum freezer making money, that's awesome. And then the garbage, because nobody ever second guesses a garbage man. And I thought it'd be cool to wear coveralls, put on a little toboggan, put some gloves on, probably not bathe for every 2 or 3 days, and just grab that can and chunk that mother back to where I got the garbage out of.
There you go. Hey, perfect, coach. What profession would you never like to attempt if you had to?
Uh,
I think you probably just answered that right there, though, is
Computer technology.
your technology. There you go. Um, and now these next two are more football oriented. You can answer them offensively, defensively, special teams, however you want to answer them. Um, what is your favorite play, football play?
Hmm. Yeah, that's hard to answer because you got concepts, you know.
Yep.
Um, hmm. We're just going to go 34 power.
Okay. Perfect. What is your least favorite football play? And again, these could be ones that you guys run, not run, watch, you turn on TV. And again, that could be offensively or defensively, however you want to answer it.
Well, I'm gonna go with the concept here. I don't understand why you snap the ball back 4.5 yards when you stay in the gun on 4th and 1, when you could get up underneath there. So you get really it's 4th and 6. Um, I, I'll have a hard time understanding that. And so my least favorite would be somebody staying in the gun on 4th and 1.
Perfect. I agree with you on that exactly, Coach. And then my last question, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you get to the pearly gates?
Oh, make it to that point. I hoped he would say, "Yeah, you don't hope, but just well done,
Perfect, Coach.
just well done."
Perfect. I think that we'd all be about agreeance on that. So, coaches, I know Coach is not heavily on Twitter, but you can give Coach a follow on the Twitter. You can pull up any of his wings and things. Just go online. I know he's got stuff on CoachTube through Wings and Things as well. I mean, there's probably plenty of other podcasts or interviews you can find on YouTube or in other spots of Coach. So if you want to find Coach, get a hold of Coach. Coach is not hard to get a hold of. It is uh, awesome to talk to.
I
I've
need to
actually,
be better on that Twitter. I need to do better. I'm not a real good speller, so I always got to get somebody to proofread it. So they get tired of helping me. But at Coach A Haire, come on, let's do it.
yep, it'll be all in the bio. So people, please give Coach a follow and reach out. I'm going to now pick Coach's brain off camera. Um, and otherwise, that is another episode of the Gap Down Backer podcast.